This video is going to show you a solo flawless shattered throne during the Season of the Lost. For those that just want to see the run, then skip to the timestamps you have available to you. Other than that, I can show you my setups and my mods and all the weapons I would use. First of all and foremost, we didn't use any Taken mods, so we didn't use Taken Spec or any Transcendent Blessings or Riven's Curse. Didn't use any of that stuff. If you want to use that stuff though, go ahead, but you really don't need it, as you'll see in the run itself. For damage purposes, as you can stack a lot of buffs to get all the damage you could ever want. So there's going to be two different Nightstalker setups I'm going to use. It's going to be Nightstalker for the whole thing, but we're going to switch between Way of the Pathfinder and Way of the Traveller. So the first build will be as follows: Way of the Pathfinder, bottom tree Nightstalker, Vortex Grenade, Gambler's Dodge, with the exotic helmet Graviton Forfeit, which gives you improved invisibility. This is the best invisibility exotic in the game, hands down, in my opinion. Because of this, it's simple. Your class ability energy takes 11 seconds to regen at max mobility. Right? That's 11 seconds. A smoke bomb will last you 11 seconds. Therefore, it's 1-to-1 for invisibility. You smoke, you dodge. You smoke, you dodge. There's no downtime. Whereas with 6 Coyote, you can get a little bit of downtime. I'm talking like a couple of seconds. 6 Coyote is amazing. Right? It's probably the next best thing. That or Graviton. I don't use Omnioculus. You'll never see me using that because it's not a solo exotic. It is a team exotic. Okay, so that's not in this list. So just know Graviton is the best exotic because it's 1-to-1 invisibility. There's no downtime with it. You can enhance that by using a stasis cloak with utility Kickstart, which gives you class ability energy when you use your class ability. Pretty simple. For the cloak, we'll be using particle deconstruction, but we'll switch to passive guard at times. We'll be going between the two. Boots will have some scavenger mods to match our weapons that we have on. A Lucent Blade, which gives us a 35% damage bonus for swords, which you've got one on. Powerful Friends, which enhances our mobility stats. We get to 100% mobility. You need an arc piece for that. Arc damage resistance, Concussive Dampener. The Gauntlet has Grenade Kickstart on. We take and charge. We get Charge of Light via picking orbs for our Lucent Blade. We also have a shield break charge to double down with that. Again, some ammo finders, and our weapons will be Hung Jury, No Composure, and the exotic sword, the Lament. This will be our setup for the first half. We will switch out between Fatebringer and Hung Jury depending on if it's close quarters or not, but these are the only two primes we'll use. This, as I said, will be for the first half. We'll switch between Particle and Passive Guard, and then for the second half of the fight, we'll be using Ascendancy, Lawrence Driver with Catalyst, and as I said, I'll be using Fatebringer. So Lawrence Driver, exceptional for this. You'll see it in the run, and Ascendancy again exceptional for this because it's got explosive light. It's a fixed roll, so anyone can pretty much get this. And then we'll switch to Way of the Trapper, Marksman's Dodge, same grenade. Then we switch to a helmet to match the mods for our weapons, and Office Rig. All the weapons will be matched. Lucent Blade will be changed with high energy fire. So it'll be a high energy fire setup with some rocket stuff on there, some linear stuff on there, but pretty much everything else will stay intact. And as I said, it'll be Way of the Trapper this time. That's generally what I'll be using for this. As I was saying, we'll be using the Graviton Invisibility. This is going to be Way of the Pathfinder, as I just went through on the intro. So this is pretty much simple. We're not going to be using passive guard, but if you want to do it on this opening encounter, which you could totally do it, I'm just used to doing it at this point. It's been out for the 3 years or so I'm, you know, well rehearsed with this dungeon. But if you want to play it a little bit safer, then use passive guard, because we're using the Lament setup at this minute, because there's a lot of close quarters VIP targets you've got to take out. But if you're completely new to this, a basic brief down explanation of this encounter is you're just going from location to location, looking for symbols, and then going to that location and clearing out all the acolytes and each VIP target, the yellow bar ultras. Having a better understanding of where all the symbols are helps you out, but it doesn't really matter if you don't really know where to go. You just explore until you see red on your radar. That's all you really need to do. Just be careful at certain zones where there's a lot of snipers. For example, the bridge area, there's a lot of snipers. Near the Tower of the Sky there's a lot of snipers, but other than that there isn't much. We ended up getting double fish straight away, so we can deal with that. Generally these phalanx won't push, but he did for me. Strange, but we can use the use our null composure, or you can go in the sword. Just really manage your ammo. We've got particle deconstruction on, so we get a damage debuff for our linear. You know, as I said, so that's going to be, we're running out of sword ammo, then we've got ammo for that. It won't really matter. You don't need to match shields. There's Solar Void Arc in this. You don't need to be matching shields so much. Void you do want to match definitely for the Ogre boss fight, but for this starting section you don't. This loadout that we're using right now though, we're going to be using it for the Ogre fight. We're not going to switch off. And the reason why I sort of do that and pick a setup that caters for this section and the Ogre fight is ammo. You can't put raid banners in this dungeon. They haven't updated it for that, which they should have done in my eyes, because it's still content that they want us to play, because we're farming weapons from here. Use certain weapons you can get from this dungeon you can't get elsewhere. Certain rolls. For example, the Slate This Rocket with Vorpal Kraken. I don't believe you can get that anywhere else other than this dungeon, in terms of that perk setup. And there's other weapons, there's other perks and weapons. That's why they updated it. Why didn't they give it raid banners? I really don't understand. So because of that, we just use a setup that works for pretty much everything until after the Ogre fight, and then we will change our setup, because Lament's no good for the firebox, but it's good for everything else. As you can see, I'm just using my invis dodge on ads that we don't need to clear. A lot of the ads you don't. On each area, it's just the acolytes and the VIP target. The acolytes will spawn their eyes, obviously. But other than that, all these Thrall here, you don't need to take them out. You can take them out for ammo purposes, by all means. But you, as I said, you really don't need to sort of extend. Anytime you're dealing with an area, go in the room and go to the back of the room. That's generally your best bet, as the ads behind won't hit you. The Thrall certainly won't come in here. Just, as I say, use your Lament, use your linear, your standard fusion, sorry. Linear is not very good for this bit, because as I said, it's more close quarter style things. You're not really needing to get critical hits so much, so I'll just prioritise, as I say, swords, shotgun, fusions, things like that, and then maybe use a scout for your long range engagement. That way you've got everything covered. By all means use your tether at times, just to sort of, you know, you may as well use it and wait for your next cooldown. Now we've got Tower of the Sky, which is the bird. There's a lot of maps. There's people do maps on this dungeon. It's been out ages. So if you want to learn it via that, look at a map. People have drew those up, made those. You can look at that for your bearings. But the more you play it, the more you get used to it. You'll see that the snipers are behind me, so we're going to go in the building. Always pays to go in there. I'm going to start with a grenade and a dodge. Let the grenade do a lot of the work. This Scion here, or this taking Hobgoblin, should I say, works similar to the Overlords. They do their enraged attack on you. Be careful with them. Now we'll take out these snipers, because if you don't take the snipers on this location, when you do single fish, which is down there, you just get continually sniped by them, which isn't too much of a problem on this class, but it just pays to take them out. Grenade Kickstart really is good on this setup. As you can see, I'm getting a lot of grenade energy. You get grenade energy anyways when you go invis and stuff, so you know, it's really good for this. Which you need to make your gauntlet stasis for that. I haven't quite got the symbol up, so we need to take an acolyte or two, I believe. And we've taken these phalanxes, which you don't need to. They're not part of the spawn, but they do push. And that's our last symbol. When you get the diving bird, you need to know that one at the very least. If you don't know any of the symbols, at least learn that one, because that one indicates it's the final location. You could be roaming around if you don't know the area and think, oh, I've still got another symbol to take. which you don't, it's just the symbol in middle. So if there's any symbol you need to learn, it's Diving Bird. That's your last one. His Take a Night will push you, so just lament him. Best off doing that. And we can take out the remaining Acolyte. This isn't my first run of the week, so you're going to see me get blues. This isn't my first run on the week, so obviously if it's my first run, I'll be getting armor, which I did get some good stat roll armor. Which is handy to have because we've got a lot of Dreaming City focused stuff this season. So with the descent section, you want to skip it all. Again, it lends itself to this setup. We'll smoke dodge. Just pay attention to my class ability energy every time. You see, just as my invis ends, got a timer on the left. Just as it ends, I get my invis back. It's 1-to-1 invisibility, which is what I'm going to use on GMs and things, rather than the 6 Coyote, and rather than any other invis. Graviton Forfeit works decent on top tree as well for invis, but not quite as good as what it does on this tree. Take the Knight. For the door to open, you need to take out the Knight and all the Minotaurs. You don't have to take snipers, but if you're going to play aggressive like this, just know when to invis and stuff and be careful. But it is the trigger is the Minotaurs, not the snipers. As you can see, the door opens. Door opens, we can then proceed with this encounter. You just want to skip this as well. So smoke up to the right here. You can go left, right, it's up to you. I work my way around the edge of the wall, jump over to the middle, which by that time your smoke will be up, but it lasts so long, so you'll see this is why it's just so good. If you think about it, with 6 Coyote, if you're getting 2 more dodges, so that means you've got to re-smoke every time, right? And you could screw up melee and add instead of smoking, or you could get killed before you re-smoke up. Whereas this, you're just doing it once, you're limiting the time when you're not invis, because you're just doing it once and you're getting double the invis almost because of Graviton. So it's, as I said, I think this is the best setup for the bottom tree Nightstalker now. Now we switch to Stompies. I would recommend you do it if you're going to skip this area like I do. Then you really need to have Stompies on. Or also have a super handy. I would strongly recommend having a super because it's a difficult jump this, or I find it difficult coming up. So you're just going to keep hugging the left wall. Thought it fell off there, but I was fine. And then it's this jump right here. You want to space out your jumps, and then I just do a tether. You can sword around that corner, I guess, but I just do a tether. It just assists me with that jump. Be careful the ogres to your right. They can push you. That's why you need to go at a good steady pace. If you're not confident doing this, then just take out the ogres from range. Okay? If you're really not confident on it. All this is a time save, and that's all it's going to do for you. So my ammo counts really good. You don't need that much sword ammo for the boss fight. I believe you probably need about 30, 40. And a decent amount of no composure ammo, and that's all you really need. We'll get a super by then, because we can utilize a super as well. As Lucent Blade and Tether stacks, because obviously you can stack one debuff and a buff together. But it is changing this season. There's certain buffs stacking with other buffs. So they're starting to sort of open out the game again for buffs stacking, more buffs and debuffs stacking together, which I like. Because that's what it used to be like. But it did get a bit crazy where you could get like 6, 7 buffs and debuffs stacking all together. It did go a bit too much, but I liked it. Back then, especially when it was escalation protocol times, I liked that because you could really coordinate with your team all your buffs and debuffs. So there was more team coordination, whereas now it's just like, oh well, I've got a bubble, that's it. I've got a well, that's it. Whereas, you know, oh, do a bubble. Somebody have Tractor on, somebody have Divinity on, somebody have this on, somebody have Focus and Lens on, and then it's just, I think for team synergy, it rewards teams for being well coordinated. So now we're going to switch to Passive Guard. We don't really need the particle deconstruction so much. You can switch it at a later point if you want, but make sure you've got it on for when you DPS and the ogre. So we're going to set up to one phase him. That is the easiest way of doing this fight, because if you do 2 phases, you just extend risk of dying. So always set yourself up for this ogre fight for a 1 phase, which it's easy to do on all 3 classes. I probably could have used Ascendancy because of how strong it is. Really super strong, but I just went more for the sword setup. Plus I've got ammo for it, and Passive Guard is up this season. If Passive Guard wasn't up, I probably wouldn't be swording this boss on a hunter. I'd probably be using something else. Maybe a Witherhorde setup to go for the 1 phase. Maybe even Anarchy. We'd some sort of setup. You know, you could go Anarchy linear. Oh no, you couldn't, sorry, my apologies, you couldn't do that. But as I said, there's other different setups that I've done to 1 phase him without a sword. But as I said, Passive Guard's up, so you may as well. So on my first try of this, this encounter bugged out for me. So I'm just going to let the new objective come up so it doesn't bug out. Basically the boss didn't spawn in nothing. I don't know why, maybe because I got here too fast. So I just took my time, wait for the new objective to come up and stuff like that. And it didn't end up bugging out. So the way I do this is I go to the back of the map. This is a safe way of doing it. You could do it a lot quicker than this. But I just done it the safer way. So I start at the back of the map rather than at the front where we were. And start prepping the adds here and the wizard. You want to get the wizard weakish, but not. You don't really need to go too crazy on it. Half HP is fine, 1 shot from your fusion, and you just want to focus all the adds. Now this is the most dangerous part of the fight, so you really need to maybe take an ad at a time and then invis. You can get sniped, things like that, as you can see. And the wizards do solar, and they do really hit you hard. Solar resistance would have worked out good, but my powerful friends is on my chest. So I didn't go solar, but it doesn't matter so much, because as I say, we've got that panic button of just going invis whenever we want. If you do kill a wizard by accident, you're going to have to pick up the orb, because obviously the wizard drops the orb, which is the buff, and you need 4 of those to get a dunk in middle to then damage the boss. But all we're doing here is prepping all the sides, because there's 4 wizards. So we just clear all the adds on each side, and then we can go back and kill the wizards on their own, making it significantly easier. Because you get a timer when you get the buff, so that means you time yourself, and you really don't need to do that. That's all corners prepped apart from this side here. If you're using an auto rifle with anti-barrier rounds, it will penetrate the Vandal's bubbles. But as I said, I wasn't going to switch to an auto. It's fine. That's 1 more sniper to take, and then we're done. Anytime you're traveling between side to side of the room, just do it smoke dodge. That's your best bet. Okay, so we'll start with this wizard, and we'll just work our way around. You notice I've got a charge ×2 with charge with light, a Lucent Blade. So we'll get that 35% damage buff. Not for the whole DPS phase, but enough damage to sort of seal a deal with him. Plus we've got a tether for a debuff, which is 30%, so you know you're going to get a good amount of damage bonus. Even though they nerf lament, it's still really good for encounters when a boss is sword friendly, like this one. It's still really good. Swords are still good, which I'm happy about, because obviously they were really powerful, but now they still are powerful, but they're not always the best option. Sometimes they are as well. Okay, so now we've got our final buff. Now it's important that you aggro this boss. Now what do I mean by that? I mean by keeping him in line of sight. You hide, the ogre will retreat, and you don't want that. You want him close. Do an invis, then dunk. That way the boss won't knock you back because you're invis, and then immediately tether. Then you want to go in with your lament. Do another tether if you like. Top 3 tether would have worked out for more damage, but obviously because of bottom trees, invisibility skills, then it just works out better. It's fine, enough damage. So as you can see, every time he stuns though, make sure that you're guarding, revving up your sword to do your heavy or your light swings. That way he won't knock you back. Whereas if you mistime a heavy attack before he stomps, he may stomp you back. So make sure you time in those sword swings. Other than that, it's pretty simple to get a one phase on him. Now I'm switching to the weapons I'm going to be using for the boss fight. So as I said earlier in the video, it's going to be Lawrence Driver, the linear, the void linear, the new one this season with Catalyst. Ascendancy, which is the pursuit weapon, if you like, for this season, which is a rocket launcher which has explosive light. We've also got all our ammo finders and scavengers already on the boots and the helmet. You know, so like rocket scavenger, rocket finders. As you can see, I've only got one shot. I'm going to need... You really don't need that much rocket ammo, to be honest, which is surprising. It's just because of how powerful it is. But if you want to be super safe, just wait until you get max ammo. Also switch your tree. I forgot to switch, so switch to top tree. Top tree is a lot better than bottom tree for certain instances. For the boss fight in particular, top tree is pretty much needed to do it how I done it, where you sort of one phase in all knights, all scions, and the boss. Well, not so much the boss is dealt with by your weapons, but that's the main part, is getting those knights down and the scions. Also be marksman's dodge rather than gamblers, that way you can reload your weapons, because it's really important that you do that and you're not, you know, slowed down by getting a reload or something. We're going to do this section just in the hopes of getting some heavy, which I end up doing, so it paid doing that. As I've noticed on the Infinite Thrall, at the Thrall stairs, they don't drop as much ammo as regular enemies. That's what I've found. So I just spammed up a little bit of ammo from here. I'm max on linear, which is perfect. I'm max on rocket. So now we can leave. That's great. We'll also farm up some explosive lights. This is another thing, you can stack 6 explosive lights on your ascendancy, which I would recommend you do. It's so easy to do with masterwork weapons. And then we'll get that 25% damage bonus, which we also have charged with light. High energy fire, because we've took off Lucent Blade. So all my Orpheus rigs, I have high energy fire on there. I wouldn't use the Argent Ordnance, whatever they're called. It's the rocket launcher Lucent Blade equivalent. Really don't bother using that, okay? Because, for example, if you're using a rocket and a linear, yeah, the Ordnance mod will work for your rocket, but you need to stack it, you need to have a load of solar armor, and it won't work for any other weapon. So high energy fire is better than that Argent Ordnance. In most cases, it's more versatile. It works for all weapons. It's less of a buff, but we've got a 20% damage bonus. We have explosive light 25. We have a tether, which is 30% debuff. All that stacks together, which, as I said, it just really makes it really good. We're going to take out this captain here because he can chase you. Just take him out. We can smoke him, take him down. And we're also going to have stompies on for this jump. So it's really important you put that on. It just helps out to make this jump. This is another skip. It's been out for a long time. You can do it in all 3 classes. Titan is Lion Rampant. Warlock is Well Radiance with the healer nades. You can make it over there multiple ways, to be honest. But what I do is I jump on this rock. I messed it up first time. That's fine. We'll jump on this rock. Jump on this top ring, and then just jump right over with stompies. Pretty simple. Now we'll switch back to Orpheus rigs. Now Orpheus rig is on because the tether will widen. Because it's top tree tether, it just assists. I think the tether spreads out a bit more with Orpheus rigs. So that's why we've got it on. As you really want a good tether. It's single shot tether, and that's just going to spread out on all the knights and all the duplicating scions, because if you can melt all those scions and the knights straight away, it's a done deal. Okay, then you've got your Lawrence Driver, which is a precision weapon. Now Incaru, the final boss, is weak. It's basically any wizard type enemy in this game. So the corrupted boss, wizards, the boss on Hash Ladoon on the Moonstrike, all those types of enemies have a higher precision multiplier for damage. So it pays to have a precision weapon, i.e. a sniper or a linear, things like that. Rockets are good as well, they're decent, but I'm using the rocket because I want to use it on the knights. Because the knights are sort of harder to crit, especially when they're chasing you or running at you. Whereas a rocket's good for that. Plus you'll see the immense damage you end up doing with Ascendancy here. You'll also see me get really unlucky. But just to note, on my Lawrence driver, I have 2 modules. When you get 3 modules, you get the 50% damage bonus. Now I'll get it from killing an enemy here. I've got 2. You can see on the gun there's 2 hanging. We'll start off with some linear shots. Let the knights come in. This is going to happen really quick. Do a tether when they come in, grenade, and then rocket dodge. Then at that point you want to sort of wait a little bit, wait for the knights to reappear. Okay? When they reappear, do another rocket. All the damage is shared across all 3 knights. Then you will be able to kill out all the sounds. All the damage is shared. Easy, 2 rockets. Then pick up all your free orbs. Now the game is bugged out. I've watched this in slow motion and I didn't get my free orbs. One of the knights didn't drop. Then I pick up a Languinian Sight, the last module. I get a 50% damage bonus, and I've got Charge of Light. So I'm actually not doing as much damage as I should be, because I've got finite fort ×2 rather than ×3. It just pays to show you how really good this setup is. And I forgot to switch to particle deconstruction, and I still got it done within the time. So that was the run. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.